Welcome to episode 41 of the Hike or Die Outdoor Adventure podcast. I'm here with Craig. Say hello, Craig.
Hey, mate. How you going?
I'm good. Craig, you know how in card games people can have an ace up their sleeve?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, we've had a little bit of a whole podcast episode up our sleeve for some time, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, up our hypothetical sleeve. So we might get that out and share it with the audience. Stay tuned, guys. Thank you, as always, to our regular podcast sponsors for their support. Topo Maps Plus, a phone application that allows you to view topographical maps and track your location even without cell phone coverage. Go deeper into the backcountry. Rios floating polarized sunglasses with 100% UV protection for the love of water. Bluey Merino, Australian superfine merino wool base, mid and top layer garments. Where our story ends, yours is just beginning. Caribee, one of Australia's leading backpack, travel and outdoor brands. They supply us with dry bags, waterproof day packs and expedition bags. Supporting our sponsors allows us to continue to produce this podcast, so please jump online and check out what they have to offer. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast today and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander listeners. Craig, it is very rare for me to say, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, mate.
Is it not?
This is strange.
This is weird, and I was wondering, as I was driving over here, we had a change of plans. Craig's got the day off, and I said, I'll come down to the studio and we'll knock this podcast out in the morning. Usually, if you're not an avid listener, you might not know that we do it very late at night when after we've tended to all of our duties. And I'm wondering if there's any difference because people say, that I talk so slow and other people have said I put them to sleep. So I'm just wondering if I sound any different. It'd be interesting.
Am I
slower?
I'm in a much better mood this time of day, so this is good. Oh,
that's good. Yeah, because you're always in a rubbish mood, and I have to try and lift up the entire podcast vibe by myself.
That must be hard.
Every time, I could spend a whole podcast telling you how hard that is, but I'll spare you. I hope everyone's well. We have, we're back. So speaking of the sneaky little episode up the sleeve, quite some time ago, we were out at a place called Summer Falls and we did a podcast out there. Now, Craig and I were discussing it earlier. I think it was just an intro to a podcast, and I don't remember off the top of my head which episode it was. If I find it, I'll drop it in the show notes for reference. But on that same trip, we stayed 2 nights in the one location, so we had a lot of time. We decided to record another episode, which is basically, I would title it, How to Choose the Perfect Hiking Backpack, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something clickbaity, right?
Right.
And we sat there and we went through basically everything we knew about backpacks at that point in time, and I'll get to that later. And we've had that kind of on ice for a while, waiting to do an intro, which is why we're here today. So let me continue, and we'll get back to the backpack stuff in a minute.
Yeah, I remember a few times we said, you remember we did that backpack thing? We could just, use that now. We could just do that today. And we never got around to it. It's been sitting there for a while.
And I keep saying, no, I've got too much to talk about, or there's another topic, or...
Yeah.
We keep putting it aside, but thankfully, the way backpacking works, technology hasn't, gone too far ahead.
Yeah.
And really, I'm only talking about months here. I'm not talking, it wasn't 6 years ago that we've recorded this. So yeah, things haven't changed. the Caribou giveaway, those winners were announced. Thanks for everybody who entered. That was a fantastic response. Those packs have been sent, and I tell you what, international shipping is a pain in the butt at the moment. Well, it's unbelievably slow, and I understand it. I sent the packs out when it was flooding in Australia, so there was a massive hold up there.
Right, yeah.
And then there's limited flights still because of the effects of COVID, so it's tough. But anyway, I got it done. They've been sent out, and yeah, congratulations to those guys who won. They got some great day packs. I also wanted to say thank you to everybody who has jumped onto Ko-fi and purchased stickers. I did promise that at the end of the first quarter, so the first financial quarter, I guess you'd call it, I would tally up all of the profits and send a percentage over to a not-for-profit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd make a donation to some kind of conservation effort or something and make that international as well. So I did that, and I thought when I was trying to work out of who to send the first payment to, I thought, you know what, I'm going to send it to Soldiers for Wildlife, who, if you remember, John was a guest on the podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Probably that was quite some time ago now, maybe 2 years ago. And we did a whole episode about what Soldiers for Wildlife do and how they have a positive impact on the wildlife in Africa. So I thought that was fitting, and I contacted John and told him I was going to send him that donation, and he was extremely grateful, and we got on the phone together and had a big old chat, and he told me that he's still over there. COVID was really tough on him and the organisation, for staff, all those sorts of things. But they're still fighting the good fight and doing great things. And he was, extremely grateful for that donation, which really that donation is not from us. That donation is from everybody who has purchased a sticker on Ko-fi.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, awesome. So at the end of the next quarter, which is in a couple of months' time, I'll choose another fund to go and send the profits to there, and we'll just keep on doing that. So thank you very much to everybody who jumped in and did that. You can go to kofi.com, which is ko-fi.com/HikeordieTV, and you can purchase those stickers there. Again, obviously, some of the proceeds are going to a wildlife fund. Thank you very much. Craig, did you get away for Easter at all? The Easter break?
That's when I got the damn virus.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Feel guilty now.
I know you've had a good time of it.
Well, yeah, so it's been through my house on 2 separate occasions, and I've avoided it. So, yeah, but then the funny thing is, so was it 2 or 3 of my family got COVID and then recovered, so we all had to stay home, and then they got the common cold. So now the 4th person in those 5 people, I have 3 kids, so there's my 3rd son is now getting sick, and I'm the only person who hasn't got COVID, I'm one of 2 people who haven't got COVID in my household, and the only one who hasn't got this year's common cold. I keep dodging it. So they're all on the mend, and if they can get through that in the next couple of days, fingers crossed, I may have just gone through. But sorry, you had a wonderful time sitting around the house while I was off doing amazing things.
Yeah, I'm just getting over it. It was typical sort of cold symptoms, but then I've just been aching in my bones a bit since then. So I'm didn't enjoy it at all, mate, I've got to say.
I won't tell you anything about what I did then.
No, please don't.
We'll just go on with other boring stuff.
Yeah, you got away, didn't you?
Yeah, we got away, and took the dog for our first hike.
All right.
Skippy.
Yeah, cool.
And it was amazing seeing that dog out, because I went to obviously that property that I've taken you to at Tenterfield.
Did you?
Yeah, we went there. We were there for about 4 days.
I didn't think I put that together. That's where you went. All right.
Yeah, we went there, and to see that dog just in that environment, like 6,000 acres,
no wonder,
rivers, streams, animals everywhere. She was just, oh man, it was epic. So we went on some big hikes, kind of, almost full day sort of hikes. We hiked back down to the waterfall where we mentioned that in an earlier episode, because you and I actually stayed there.
Yeah.
And we did an episode from that cabin. If you remember correctly, yeah. We did an episode from the cabin at that property after we just got back. Yeah. You're looking at me confused, like
when
you
said
remember it.
The waterfall, and then we did an episode from there. I was like, no, it was up at the cabin, which isn't the waterfall. I'll get you.
Yeah, we know we stayed at the waterfall. Yeah. So we returned to that, which we couldn't do on the previous trip.
Yep.
Because it was flooding. But on this trip, got the whole family down there. Swam around in there, and the dog went for a swim, and we had a little fire. There's a video on Instagram of the sausages cooking and the coffee boiling.
Yeah, see, I saw that.
In front of that.
And then I thought that must have been some old footage you dug up or something, but then I put it together.
Yeah, that was from the recent trip.
Because I could tell it was down there, yeah.
Yeah, and I put up another little video of these, it's like these cascading waterfalls.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a different place on the other side of the property that the owner and I discovered sort of by accident, but the water wasn't flowing. And this time it was, and it was magnificent. The video is taken from the 3rd tier. Had I have walked down further, which I didn't think of until I got home, it's a 4-tier waterfall, which is incredible. Yeah, sure. Good place for a swim.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone was, we couldn't get the pump to work to get the water up to the house, so we were kind of on rations for water up at the cabin.
Is that right?
So then we ended up every day we were just down in the creek swimming and / washing down there.
Yeah.
Which is fine. My kids are like so into swimming in cold water now. Like they've got this thing, like they call ourselves the Icy Boys.
Perfect.
And they want to get in this freezing water, so it's hilarious. No, it was great. It was good. We just had such a blast. The dog had the best time in the world.
Yeah, because we've been talking about getting away this month, but you have had this responsibility with the dog, and it's hard to find a place you can take a dog.
Mate, it doesn't exist. It's so sad when you compare it to other countries. There are places you can take a dog to camp beside your car. There are places you can take a dog to hike for the day. There's no combination of a remote campsite where you can hike in with the dog, stay with the dog, hike out with the dog. It just doesn't exist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's sad, and obviously it's the people that don't look after their animals that are creating these rules for the other people who do. Like, even on the entire hike on private property, I have my dog on a lead. Sometimes it was quite a long lead that I made out of paracord. But then other times I'd put her on the short lead if we were in, kind of technical terrain where I was worried she was just going to run off a cliff or something. I'd put her on the short lead. Yeah. But yeah, sadly they don't exist. So we'll have to negotiate that hike a different way.
Yeah, I get it.
Hey, I've been doing a bit of editing. I hate mentioning it, but I do it every time. I've got a few videos that are well on their way to being ready. Some of the footage is quite old, but when I say old, I'm talking like a year or two. But yeah, I kind of got back into the flow, really enjoying it.
Oh, good.
Everything, for people that don't know, pretty much I started from YouTube and then branched out to, the podcast and other things. Whereas now it's almost driven by the podcast, and then I tend to those things if I get time, because I'm quite busy with this part of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's nice to revisit that, and I hope to drop them in the near future.
Oh, cool.
Now, on to exciting news. Obviously, this particular podcast is about, choosing a hiking backpack, and we've collaborated again with Caribie to put another 2 packs up for grabs, which is pretty cool for you guys. I was talking to Craig earlier, and what I really wanted to do with this giveaway, the last giveaway went through Instagram, and that was how I, presented it, and that was how you could enter. But on this one, I really wanted to reward the listeners of our podcast in general, of this episode, and everyone that supported us. So I specifically want to keep this a podcast-based entry. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to drop a series of 3 code words throughout this episode. And in the show notes, I'll have clear information on how to enter. I'll put it right up near the top of the show notes page for this episode once it's launched. And if you look in there, that'll tell you how to enter. But basically, you will have to provide the 3 code words, and that will give you an entry.
Mm-hmm.
If you can give me your Instagram handle, I will give you a bonus entry if you're following caribie.com as well. But what I really want to do, like I said, is keep this podcast based. And what I didn't want was people who aren't regular listeners to just listen in the start of this just purely to enter the competition and take away the opportunity for the people who stick through every episode and listen right to the end. So I'm not trying to punish the good guys, you guys who are here listening through the whole episodes anyway. It's not meant to be more work for you. It's simply to make sure, to weed out the people who are just trying to win a pack. And as Craig said, the people that listen all the way through on these, it might only be 2 people that listen to this whole episode, so you've got a 50% chance of winning. Who stays around to the end, I don't know.
If you get the 3 code words, you got a good chance
of winning. You got a good chance, I reckon you have.
But where do they put those code words that the others can't?
Well, that's the thing is, once you go to the show notes, you'll see I'll probably construct a simple form that you fill out and submit.
Oh, yeah, because you don't want to just post the code words.
That's exactly right. Don't go to Instagram and post the 3 words on the podcast episode post, because, first of all, I'll delete it, and that's not going to get you an entry anyway. Sweet. You must go to the show notes on HikeordieTV.com on the podcast page for episode 41 and see how to enter from there. The first code word is explore. Stay tuned for second and third. You will need all 3. Have I made that clear, Craig? I don't want you entering. You've already got one of these. Hey, I'll tell you about the packs. That would be silly of me not to. We're giving away 2 separate M60 Phantom rucksacks by caribie.com. I'll read out some of the information directly from their website, because quite frankly, I don't think I could do it justice, or rather any better than they have. Boasting military spec design, the Caribie M60 Phantom rucksack is ready for any adventure. Constructed using HD 900D materials with reinforced load points, the M60 is built for off-grid missions. The convenient front panel, which I actually think is really cool, has zippered access, provides quick access to your gear on the move, while the floating hood ensures that you can pack to the maximum amount of gear. Floating hood is when you're able to extend, so the top of the pack's not sewn in, it's on straps, and you can extend that higher, which means you can pack it higher. Yep. It also has lashing points and molly webbing on the outside, and what they call an action-back extreme fixed harness system that minimizes possible failure points and provides long-lasting hiking comfort. both Craig and I own these, and I've taken mine on a few. It's quite a large pack, but when I do hikes with the family, I quite often carry a lot of their gear.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I'm on a day hike, sometimes I'll take this 60 litre because I'm stuffing their rain jackets and stuff in there. So it seems like overkill for some people, but if you got 3 kids, you know what I'm talking about.
Totally.
So that's what's up for grabs. You're testing my memory here, but I think one was black and one was what I would call like a khaki, sort of that military khaki colour.
Yep.
From memory. Did you get you got a black one. I've got the kind of that military desert tan colour.
Yep.
And from memory, there's one of each colour. I'm not sure if there'll be an option to choose a preference or if I'll just do it randomly for the winner.
Okay.
Apologies. I'll decide later. All right, moving on to the task at hand, Craig. Well, actually, no. I'm going to go into a bit of news. What I thought was I've spent a lot of time on the news this week. Not that there's a lot of it, but I spent a lot of time taking us from the lowest of lows to, funny and high kind of news, specifically because in the past I've kind of left us on a downer sometimes. So
got to be careful.
So I'm starting as low as you could possibly go, and you'll get the idea.
All right.
I was going to ask you, excluding leeches, what would be your biggest fear on a hike? What would be a nightmare hike? What would be something that would freak you out, scare you, or whatever?
Well, as far as, we've always been concerned about a snake bite.
Okay, fair call.
But more realistic is a fall out there where we get head injury or
both
something.
Good answers. And had we been hikers in the US, we may add some animal that would, rip your face off or whatever.
Yeah.
It's none of those things, Craig. But let me just read the title of this article out to you.
Okay.
A woman fell into a trailhead pit toilet in Washington, and we officially have a new nightmare. I told you we were starting low, mate.
It's just
if you're not familiar with what a pit toilet is, it is also referred to as like a drop toilet or a long drop.
Yeah.
They come in several forms. Basically, they're toilets that don't flush. They don't have a water supply. They store up everything in there. The gory details.
Yeah.
It's I've seen a couple of different types throughout Australia, and sometimes they're just literally a hole that they dig super deep, and then they put the little kind of cabin on top with the toilet.
Yeah.
And then they move that like every couple of years.
Yeah. Sure. Yep.
And then other times I've seen more modern ones, like on the overland track in Tasmania, there's a pod, like this massive, almost like a fiberglass pod that they move that out, move a fresh one in, and then they take that one away by helicopter.
Quite incredible. And
incredible when you think about what they're moving out.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've cleared that up. There's a harrowing story of a 40-year-old woman in Washington.
Yeah.
It gets funny in a way. When she dropped her phone in there.
Oh.
Okay.
Right.
She dropped her phone into
phone.
the toilet.
Yeah, just say goodbye.
That's what I'm thinking is, okay, see ya.
That's it.
Have I got my car keys? Yep, we're good. See you later. Off I go. You know what? I'll drop in the phone store on the way home. All good. Well, it's fallen on top of, let's call it, the pile. And so when she's looked down, it was still visible to her. So she must have been hiking with her dog, unless she had this. It doesn't say how she got a dog leash. She may have got that out of her car or something, because she's trying to use a dog leash to fish it out. hook it out, loop it out or something, which I'm thinking that's pretty futile to start with.
Yep.
Then she moves one step closer to thinking, oh, I'll attach the leash to something and I'll hang on to that, which will allow me to lean lower into the toilet and grab the phone with my hand.
No. Yeah.
And that's at the point where the leash failed and she slid headfirst into the toilet.
That's a fail. All right.
It gets worse. 20 minutes she was in there.
No.
20 minutes. Like, could you imagine it? I thought, when I first read the story, I thought, oh, she's fallen in, she's climbed out. Disgusting. Ugh, end of story. But as I read more, I thought 20 minutes, she found her phone and called 911. And so they sent a rescue team out. They had to make a platform in there that she could actually stand on first.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously there's no substance. Man, I hope nobody's eating dinner or whatever listening to this, because this is bad. So then they pulled her out to safety.
But hang on, they wouldn't have arrived in 20 minutes. That sounds a bit unusual too.
No. She was in the toilet for 20 minutes and then called 911, I believe.
Yeah.
She found her phone and was able to call 911, yeah. So the fire department went down there and plucked her out.
I'm with you. I would have expected she fell in and got out, but to be in there for that long.
Yeah, well, they say here...
That's a nightmare.
The patient was extremely fortunate not to be overcome by toxic gases or sustain injury. They encouraged her to seek medical attention after being exposed to human waste. But as they say, quote, she only wanted to leave the scene. I'm thinking, in my car, I have what I would consider a reasonably large little bottle of hand sanitizer that I keep in the console, and I'm thinking, that's not enough, man. That's not enough. You need some kind of an industrial sized bucket or something of it.
You'd have hoped they had the fire truck there so they could...
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Hose you down.
The fire department, you guys got the hose still here? Great. Line me up.
Oh.
Like one of those scenes from...
Turn that thing on.
Like I think at the start of Rambo where they put him in prison and they hose him.
Yeah.
I'd be all for that. I'd be like, just hose me until you run out of water, and then lather me in hand sanitizer. Jeez. Oh, man.
Thanks for that, man. I can't unsee that even though I'm just listening to you. Yeah.
Isn't that just... you got to laugh. Someone's trying to retrieve a cell phone. It's just get your priorities straight, people. I had a funny long drop toilet story from the second time I was on the overland track. Remember, I did it with a group in the private huts because I was filming the documentary.
Yep.
So one of the group came out of the toilet and he said to the tour leader, "I've just dropped my reading glasses down there."
Oh, right.
And she said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I dropped my glasses down." Like I don't know if he bent over or whatever. Like they went down there.
Yeah. And
he said, "I can see them. Like I look down, I can see them because they're just, obviously they're light and they just landed straight on top."
All right.
And she said, "Give me a minute." Like this is a testament to how cool these guys are. These guys. She goes, "Give me a minute." She goes around the back, puts like rubber gloves on that go up to her shoulder.
Okay.
And I don't know if she had a mask on or whatnot, but she was able to access the top of the pit. And sure enough, she said she put her hand in and they were just gently sitting right on top, and she just plucked them straight off. And she used like a hand sanitizer type of solution and just put them all over the glasses and then washed them and gave them back to him. And he was incredibly grateful because that was only about halfway through the trip and he kind of needed those on a day-to-day basis. So from memory, I think he wore glasses the whole time. So yeah, they might not have just been reading glasses. Either way, she saved the day with a mega effort beyond
Yes.
what I'd expect somebody to do for me.
That is an effort for sure.
I mean, I was thinking if I was one of those guys, I go, oh, really? Oh, you dropped your glass? Ah, yeah, they're gone.
They're gone
forever, mate. I actually don't have access to the toilet. I cannot get them, even if I wanted to. So on we go. Here's a stick. Use that to find your way around the next 3 days. Use this hiking pole.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of that. This is an interesting one, and I include this in news, even though it's more about a film, or rather a film put together by, it pains me to say this, but Disney. They've put together a film called, it's part of some Explorer series, and it's called The Last Tepui. Now, way, way, way back in podcast history for us, I spoke about a film that I found. Now, a tepui they're in South America, and they're these enormous, enormous tabletop mountains with sheer cliffs. So they're basically never touched by humans unless you get choppered in. And when I spoke about this, it must have been almost 2 years ago, maybe more, when I spoke about a Dr. Bruce Means, who I believe is a biologist. In the first short film that I shared, he was already 71 at that time, and he got helicopter dropped on top of one of these tepuis, and he discovered he wanted to check out this type of frog that had obviously existed up there, but nowhere else. It was a variant of a frog, a toad rather, that existed down in the normal jungle, but these things are so ridiculously elevated. So in that, he was able to explore, obviously, the tops of these. They're also referred to as a mesa, so these tabletop mountains, but then sometimes in between there's these massive inaccessible canyons where no human has ever stood before. And so he got repelled down into that with a professional climber, and stayed the night down there recording sounds and trying to find, with his head torch, trying to find one of these things. It's not a spoiler alert because I'm not talking about this film. He does end up finding them. It's a fascinating video. So I found the original. But what this is a return to the tepuis. And he was able to, as I said, explore the top of these mesas and in these giant crevasses, but he's never been able to explore the actual side of these cliffs. And so their part of their team rang Alex Honnold, who you'd be familiar with from the film Solo. Or was it Free Solo? Free Solo. And they said, well, if we're going to the most crazy uncharted place, we should get the most experienced climber. So they take him there and chuck him on the side of these tepuis. And just so you know what I'm talking about, Craig, I'll spin my laptop around. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, so right.
This here is, jungle, and there's obviously civilization out there at some point. But these cliffs go the entire circumference. You don't go walking up there, you don't hike up there, you can't even rock climb up there because nobody's done it before. So it was quite interesting. Now, obviously, I'm only talking about the trailer here. It's not, the trailer dropped on the 9th of April. So I can't comment on the actual film, but it was cool to see this return. It was cool to see, because I think if you're talking about a remote place like that and how volatile it is and how important it is to conserve it, and then you bring in someone like Alex Honnold, who has such a huge positive influence on the whole outdoor community and is such a household name, then I think you're just adding clout to getting more eyes to kind of see this and say, well, hey, let's make sure that stays protected.
Yeah.
And you don't start doing helicopter tours on top with a cabin and all this sort of crazy stuff. Not that any of that is in the pipeline.
And they're still searching for these frogs, is that right?
Oh, no, this is a different... So basically they're just checking out the cliff faces, which they've never checked out. No, they found the toads in the previous film.
Yeah, right.
It was funny because I watched it again and he finds it. He doesn't find it overnight. He stays the whole night. And then he's sitting there the next morning and looks on a leaf and there's one right in front of him, a little baby.
It's a nice segue to what we're about to introduce here, mate.
What are we introducing?
You know how we're doing our podcast where we're sitting amongst...
Oh, yeah. Hey, I didn't even think of that. That's a really interesting point. Yeah, I forgot to mention that when we transfer over to this podcast about backpacking, we're actually sitting in a creek at the time.
You can imagine that we're actually...
you could, exactly. You could imagine we're on one of these tepuis because I was just saying to Craig, some of the most unique frog sounds are in this podcast that you're going to hear today. And they're from a very specific frog from that very specific region.
Yeah. And
they're absolutely gorgeous, little bright yellow frogs.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I want you guys to hear this podcast is because of those sounds. I think it's incredible.
And they're real, because we're sitting in there at night too, just to be clear. We recorded the intro to the other podcast during the day.
And then this one was...
And then that evening we said, hey, because we weren't tired, let's go and sit down and punch out another episode and sit in the creek because it, might... There might be some interesting sounds. Well, yeah, sure enough, this is...
It's really cool.
This is the Frogcast.
That's right, totally.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's legit. This is a funny one. I said I'd end the news on a high. You know those old school kind of... They're more prevalent in the States, those posters that they would have for national parks?
Yeah.
Like... They're kind of hand-drawn.
Yeah.
I picked up a postcard in Tasmania of the Overland Track, actually, and it was done in that style. Very, very cool. US listeners will immediately understand what I'm talking about. Well, this artist, let me just grab her name because I think it's well worth crediting her. She's an illustrator called Amber Share. And what she did was... every single one of the 62 national parks in the United States have at least one-star review on Yelp. Yelp's a platform not unlike kind of Google reviews where you can review your experience. So every single national park has at least one. So she decided to make posters of these and put, in her words, I believe, put a fun spin on a negative mindset. And she calls the gallery or the series Subpar Parks. And it's 62 illustrations with hand lettering of each national park. And she uses the Yelp review as the kind of, how would you say it, like the tagline for that national park, like Yosemite Park, great largest national park, and whatever it might be. She's replaced that with the Yelp review. So I'll show you.
Give us one.
I'll read out there's some absolute crackers here. Joshua Tree National Park. I'm sure you're all well familiar with that, even if you're not from the States. You know the Joshua trees are fantastic. So this poster just says, the only thing to do here is walk around the desert.
I get it. Yeah, for sure.
So look at the, I'm going to show
cool.
you the style of it. See what I mean? Like that old school kind of.
Just walk around the desert, yeah.
I'm going to read some more out to you. No cell service and terrible Wi-Fi. That's Isle Royal National Park. Let me fix it. There are bugs and they will bite you on the face. Sequoia National Park, established 1890 rather. Trees block view and there are too many grey rocks. That's Yosemite National Park. Now, I've been to Yosemite National Park. And I agree. There's too many grey rocks.
Was that your review?
Yeah, they got that off me. I should get some kind of credit for that poster. What's this one here? There was no one except us. That's horrible. Why would you want to go to what is it? Voyaguers? I don't even know how to pronounce that. National Park, because there's no people there. Rubbish. Bryce Canyon National Park, too orange, too spiky.
Okay, yeah.
Denali National Park and Preserve, barren wasteland of tundra.
Yeah. I hope she's selling shirts as well, man. That's
Banff
cool.
National Park, another big name in the national park world.
Yeah.
Not really the best place.
Not really the best place.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know Yellowstone National Park with the geysers, the natural geysers that shoot water like 50 foot. Save yourself some money, boil some water at home. Yellowstone National Park. Oh, man. Oh, here's a good one. Zion National Park. You're familiar with Zion, right?
Yeah.
Another absolute cracker with the narrows and those. Oh, absolutely. Scenery is distant and impersonal. Death Valley National Park. Ugliest place I've ever seen. Oh, my gosh. Wow. I love it. I'll post a link to that article because you can scroll through in your own time, and there's more. There's many, many more. Grand Canyon National Park, a hole, a very, very large hole.
Oh, jeez.
Moving on to the Tom's Magical Mystery Media mashup, or rather, it's just film today.
Yeah.
I've stumbled across a few little things that I think you might like to check out on YouTube. One of these I showed to you, or last week, was it, when I came over, or the week before? But I'll get to that. This first one is called Sounds of the Pacific Northwest, a cinematic travel film. It's a short film, and whilst it is beautifully shot, obviously it's the Pacific Northwest, but they've spent a lot of time on the soundscape. So they've spent more time invested in, hearing footsteps on gravel and water in a stream than perhaps trying to tell any specific story. But if you're looking for a few minutes, 5 minutes of, I would say, immersion, beautiful, a beautiful experience, then go and check out that. Go check out that clip. I'll put it in show notes, obviously. It's quite beautiful. It's cool to watch. Now, because I know you love heights so much, I've also included a short film, or rather, it's kind of like an episode of this guy's vlog called A Night on the Edge, Bivacco Ronconi. I've probably pronounced that horribly. It's on the border of Italy and Switzerland. It's a cabin that sits at over 3,000 meters elevation. Just comprehend that for
That's pretty high.
a minute.
Yeah.
And I'll put a link to the clip, obviously. He has some nice stuff on the rest of his YouTube channel as well. But I want to show you one still from, I've just paused the video here, Craig, and I'm going to turn this around. It's a shot of about halfway through the video when he hikes up to that level and finally gets to the cabin. He stays there the night, but I believe it must be the next morning he sends his drone out and does some sweeping kind of views, and that's the kind of view, like that's the cabin perched on this horrific spine. And to just give context, I do have the volume off, which is a good thing. You'll see as he does flyovers where the actual cabin is located.
Oh man, that's it's
It's creepy. Look at that. It's a creepy.
There is death no
See?
matter where you turn.
This is the best shot. Look at that.
It
As he
looks pretty
pans
scary.
out.
Yeah,
There's
that's
this
cool. Oh, wow.
deathly spine of just rock. Too much grey rock for my liking. I'd say that's too much grey rock.
That's your
if
review?
I had to review it. And on this spine is this tiny cabin, and it's horrific to look at. It's scary. But yeah, I'll include that. It's a cool little video of his experience hiking up, or rather climbing up to that cabin, staying the night. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. The next one I wanted to mention was that it was that short film I showed you called The Mountains.
Yep.
Remember that? We watched that. It was just basically, it was kind of this guy talking about, like the voiceover is this guy talking about his experiences in the mountains and why he always returns. Remember this shot, Craig? You'll remember the video I'm talking about.
Wow, yeah, that's epic.
Yeah, he does a lot of beautiful drone photography through this incredible landscape. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Dennis Barbas is his YouTube channel, but as I said, I'll put this clip in the show notes and you can check it out. It's only another short one, sort of 6.5 minutes of pure beauty. Very cool. I'm going to finish off with something completely different, and I mean, you could be thinking, how does this fit in with hiking in the outdoors? But you'll see, and I'll get to that. There's this guy called let me just try and find his name, David Bird. I'm not sure if that's his real name. I have to assume it is. David M. Bird. That's his YouTube channel. Either way, he used to work for Lego, and he used to design. There was a range of Lego called the Bionicles. Not sure you've got kids, but it's probably pre your time. You would build these, so it was nothing to do with the regular Lego of the little minifigs. It was, you get to build these kind of creatures with spiky heads and full kind of articulated joints and everything. That was the Bionicles. So he used to design these things.
Right. It's like Meccano style.
Yeah, a little bit more Technics. Yeah,
Technics.
It's kind of closer to the Technics range than the minifig range, but it still has some parts from that. So very cool stuff. So he was a designer of those characters, and then he left that. I think he just kind of got a little bit burned out in that particular kind of corporate industry or whatever. But he's now got this side project that he calls Beacorns, and he takes things out of nature, and he'll use an acorn and he'll build around an acorn and he'll make a character, and then he'll meticulously set this character up in the wild, and then he'll sit there with a remote camera, or he'll kind of hide. At one point he's hiding in his house. In this video, he shows you kind of behind the scenes. He's sitting in his house waiting for a squirrel to turn up to this particular acorn so he can take a photo. And he creates these beautiful scenes where these characters that he calls Beacorns are kind of interacting with nature, almost like they become not saviors, maybe saviors, but protectors, saviors of nature, providers of nature, these little guys. And often they'll make big spiky swords and that, purely for them to not defend themselves, but to fight and help nature. And it's fascinating. So the video is his whole kind of work process, and it shows him building these Beacorns, which are absolutely gorgeous. But the tie-in back to what we do and the time we spend in the outdoors is he will capture the interactions between his Beacorn and some form of wildlife. In this picture I'm about to show you, he's propped this Beacorn on a particular flower, almost as if it's sitting on the flower and holding it down for the purposes of a hummingbird to come and get nectar from it, almost like it's guiding the hummingbird in. And I'll show you this picture, and you'll kind of like, that's a photograph that he's taken.
Oh, right.
So he'll create this character, set it up in nature, and then
the hummingbird comes in.
The hummingbird comes to the flower, he gets that shot, but it makes a story. And there's plenty with squirrels where he'll put he'll make a little basket of seed.
Yeah.
And he'll have the beacorn holding the seed, and then the squirrel comes up and eats the seed, and it looks like it's feeding. If you want to, to go to that kind of childlike realm of fantasy and pixies and fairies and all that stuff, this is absolutely beautiful.
That's a cool idea.
Fun, absolutely beautiful. And he's got a really cool Instagram channel as well. Account rather, and he puts up shots of new characters and stuff, and it's really taken off just in the time that I've discovered him, which was maybe 2 months ago. It really seems to be taken off for him, and when you look at that, you can see why. He sells these prints too on his own website, which I think is fantastic. I'd have something like that in my house.
Good one. Yeah, that would be popular for sure.
Yeah, really cool. Something worth checking out. Something completely different. All right, Craig, should we delve into the actual, the meat of this podcast?
The Frogcast? Yes, we should.
The Frogcast, we absolutely should. There's one clarification that we wanted to make coming into this, and that is, at the time of recording this podcast, neither of us had a traditional external frame pack. Craig had what I would term as a kind of a hybrid external frame, and I'll get into that in a second. Mm-hmm. And at the time, this was the episode where I literally broke my pack the night before.
Yeah, that's right. That's what
got
us thinking.
Us to think about, selecting a good pack, because I was just about to have to do it.
Yeah.
So I broke my pack. I use my backup pack. We head out. We do this hike.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I was using internal frame packs, and for that reason, we didn't really want to go into the whole external frame, because I wasn't really that familiar with it. It was just something we'd seen from afar.
Yeah.
Since then, however, the next pack that I did purchase to replace the damaged one was in fact a full external frame in that kind of quintessential, if you look at it from the side, it's that L-shaped load-bearing frame, like an actual shelf where you can sit something on there. The straps attached to the frame attaches to the pack. In my case, the pack's interchangeable. I can change the sizes. Now, where this gets a bit tricky is Craig and I were having this discussion, and he said, my new pack is external, and he mentions this in the podcast. He says, well, I've got an external frame pack, and I said, I'm not sure it's an external frame. He said, yeah, come and have a look at it. And sure enough, it's an external frame, but it's really weird. It's almost like a hybrid, because if you ask the question, like, does your pack have an external frame? The short answer is yes, 100% does. If you go further and say, does it fit into that, what I would call that stereotypical, more traditional L-frame shelf, then no, it doesn't. It's a weird thing in between where, yes, it's still a set of shoulder and hip straps on a suspension system which allows you to interchange the pack to suit the hike that you're coming up on. A day hike, put a smaller pack on that same chassis.
Yeah.
You've got a long haul hike coming up, put a bigger pack on the same chassis. You're maintaining the chassis, changing the what attaches to that frame. This new pack that I have is what I would consider a more traditional external frame, in that you can see the big rectangular frame. It sticks out the top, the sides. You can see from the side that it has an L-shaped shelf. My straps attach to that frame, and then I can interchange my pack. I can put a small day pack on there and still use the same chassis, or I can put a massive pack on there, which I usually do. So obviously there's no frame packs, which are your smaller day packs, and we do mention those in this episode. But I just thought it was important to maybe point out that at the time we were a little confused around that hybrid pack, which falls somewhere in between in a strange place. Now, maybe there's a word for that in the outdoor world that we're not familiar with. I struggled to find any reference to something in between, but that's the best I can do.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we did call it an external pack, an external frame pack in this podcast that we're about to do.
I don't think we did reference yours because at the time I didn't know that it was external.
That's right.
I literally did not know that your pack was interchangeable, so I didn't even hint on it in the podcast.
No, we talked about it since.
It was after that I said, "Oh, hey Craig, I've got an external frame now. I'll need to do a slightly different intro to this podcast." And you said, "Well, mine's external as well," and that's when we went down this rabbit hole. So I'll just quickly touch on my experience with the full external frame. So that is 100% big rectangular frame.
Yeah.
I find it, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love how, because of the frame, it's made from like this heavy duty material that actually twists. So if I move my shoulders sort of back and forth, the hips are obviously attached to the frame as well, but they'll actually twist, and you can sit it on the ground and you can twist it back and forth. And I love that because it feels quite agile on your back even when it's maxed out.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Something else I like is it creates a little area where I can slide things down in between the pack and the and the frame, and whatever I stick down there is not going to jab me in the back. Yeah. In fact, anything I put in my pack, I can shove a fry pan and my camping stove and everything in my pack, and it never comes in physical contact with my back. Only the hips and the shoulders touch the frame.
Yes.
And another reason, this leads me to another point why I like it so much, and that is there's less pack touching my back, which in Australian summer hiking, or even in now, if we hiked right now, it's muggy, it's hot and sweaty out there, and the only thing that touches my back now are the shoulder straps and the waistband. I don't have any. You could stick your arm through between my back and the pack, and that airflow is obviously advantageous to to my comfort levels. The ability to be able to put my pack down on the ground now and it sits upright and just stays there and I can walk away and do something. It sounds like a silly little pro, but I absolutely love it. Gone are the days where I have to I prop my pack up against a tree and then I turn around to do something, I turn back and it's fallen over and stuff's fallen out the top. It sounds trivial, but I don't know. Some of these things that sound trivial are a big deal when you've been hiking all day.
Yeah, I've just found this thing I was going to tell you about. I think it was a well-known website too. But that's the problem. I can't tell you where it was from, but it's got the pros and cons of external frame packs, because I think I was trying to work out if mine is a true external frame or not. And like you said, it's some sort of hybrid. And it says here, unless you have a thing for antiques, I wouldn't recommend external frame packs. It's like there's no one. So cheaper than an internal frame, great ventilation, good for carrying heavy loads. But it's not common, not popular, and can't take it. They reckon you can't take it on public transport.
What? That's ridiculous. I'll obviously, in the show notes, I'll put any pack that we specifically reference, I'll put in. Now, what we did also in this, just to quickly touch on, is we tried to stay away from brands and models in this entire podcast. And the reason we did that was we didn't want any stigmas or any existing brand bias in you, the listener, to quickly judge what we were talking about, if that makes sense. I think it was better we were talking about a type of day pack and describing that day pack, what to look for in that day pack, the pros, the cons, those sorts of things, no matter what brand the day pack is, okay? Because your budget is going to vary differently from the next person, and I think that's important. So it doesn't matter what your budget is, you can use the information in this podcast to try and tick as many boxes as you possibly can, as your budget will allow.
Yeah.
So that's why we've stayed away from any kind of brand name dropping, even to the point I'm not sure you even mentioned yours in there. In fact, I'm almost positive we don't, but I'm happy to put the links in the show notes. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, good move.
Because you'll get an idea of, I mean, to say that my external frame pack is antiquated that's just somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about.
That's right. And
I'm not even defending my own pack. I'm saying once you have a look at the chassis and the technology behind it and the way that it twists with your body, and something we mention in the podcast is how much weight we carry with filming gear. So all of those things come in. So I won't, I don't want to sound like I'm defending my pack, because I'm not. It works for me and your pack works for you, but it's worth checking out all options before you go in and spend what I consider to be one of the largest, aside from, say, your tent, your sleeping setup, and your pack would have to be the largest. I'd say even, well, put it this way, my pack was twice the price of over 2.5 times the price of my boots, which are already expensive.
Yeah.
My hammock system, it was getting close to double my hammock system, which is a very expensive hammock. So it's a big expense, and you don't want to get it wrong.
Important decision for sure.
It's a big decision. So hopefully we cover enough in this podcast to at least set you on the right track, or get you into the right conversations, or get you doing the right research, which is important. That's all I've got to say, mate.
All right, let's get into it.
Now, don't forget, listen out for the second and third secret code words that I'll drop into this podcast. Jump over to the show notes. You could be in the running to win your own Caribbean backpack. All right. Take care, guys. Talk to you next time. Welcome, guys. We are currently sitting in, what would you call this, Craig? It's kind of like a canyon of sorts.
Yeah, a little gorge.
A little gorge, yeah. Good description. We have an audience of 2 frogs, probably 1 metre away from me, 2 metres away. And I just looked, my head torch just shone into that water, Craig. Can you see the giant shrimp?
That's a big one.
It's a monster. I think there's another one attacking the bottom of your tripod.
That's what I was looking at. The big
no, there's one to the left. It's even bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Craig's 2 legs of Craig's tripod for the microphone are in the water, and 2 shrimps have immediately come up and started, trying to eat it, rip it apart.
How'd it go yesterday, eh?
Yeah, the same ones that were trying to nip me in the water.
Yeah. That's big.
Yeah, this area is famous for these little golden frogs. I don't know what they're called. I really should have looked, but I've stayed in an area not far from here, and these guys are prolific. If you go for a night walk around the water, they're really beautiful. But we're not here to talk frogs, are we, Craig?
No, what are we talking about tonight, Tom?
We're going to share everything we've learned about hiking packs.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting stuff for any hiker. Even if you're seasoned or beginner, I would think. It's a hot topic this week because quite literally 30 minutes before Craig and I were leaving for this trip, one of the shoulder straps broke off my pack that I've been using for about 7 years. which rendered it completely useless. So there was no way of repairing it, no way of putting a spare strap or anything on. It's actually snapped off at the bag. So it was a huge dilemma, and I guess over the course of the last 2 days or so, we spent a fair bit of time talking about the pros and cons of packs that we have had, currently do have. You know, obviously I'm using my backup pack for this trip. Craig's, what are you on to? About your third serious pack? Yeah, so this is my 1, 2, yeah, so I'm on to around about my third if you include the backup pack. And, aside from that, we've got a bunch of smaller packs that suit various uses, and we'll get into that. We'll break it down into kind of pack size and the sort of things that you should be keeping an eye on if you're looking at purchasing. What we also wanted to make clear, I guess, was that we are not ultralight hikers by any means. We don't claim to be, and through our decision-making process, weight is not always the number one requirement. It's quite often comfort, so that we can do 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 or 10 days with a pack, averaging a significant amount of weight, because we carry a lot of audio and filming gear and creature comforts like Craig's slippers.
I have to carry a pair of slippers every time. Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
See, they like my slippers.
But no, you can't confirm that that's positive croaking.
You think that they're disapproving?
Well, that could be negative croaking.
Of these camp shoes, you reckon?
Wow, that was pretty cool. These frogs are, as I said, one's a metre away from me, and he started croaking then. There's one down the stream. Wow, that's going to continue to put me off. Back to my point, yeah, we're not ultralight hikers. Never have we claimed to be.
No, the pack weight comes into it. We look at that, but of course it's got to be built for purpose.
Exactly right. And inevitably, we'll get to all of this, but inevitably durability comes with weight for the most part, although we are moving into a lot of new technologies these days with fabrics, but it still doesn't take away the fact that a solid frame is going to require some extra weight.
Yeah, it goes to say that a lot of the ultralight packs are for carrying ultralight gear.
That's a good point too.
And when we're putting up to 20 k's on our back, you need a different sort of pack.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, if you're getting an ultralight pack and then packing normal gear in it and trying to carry 25 kilos, you're going to start to have dramas. It's probably going to be a painful experience, and you probably damage the pack.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to say, and the other thing is, at the end of all this, take in what you can, but do your own research from there. It's important because every single person has very slightly different requirements, very slightly different comfort requirements. There could be someone with shoulder injuries, back injuries, all sorts of stuff, or things that you just won't go without. So that all needs to be factored into your final decision making, but we can certainly give you a lot of guidance along the way. I guess in a nutshell, the purpose of this episode will be to introduce you to all of those requirements, so the different elements of a pack that you should be considering, and then how that fits into different purposes. We'll also share a whole bunch of our mistakes and pain points, I'm guessing, along the way. They'll inevitably come out in conversation here. As always, the goal is to perhaps help somebody out there steer clear of a little pain point that we've hit by just hearing us talk about it and think, well, I'll never buy a pack that has that. Or at least I'll assess the situation before I go ahead and buy it. So yeah, obviously it's such a broad topic that and it's because it's not one size fits all. It's really just going to be an overview. But it'll be enough to, I guess, set you on your way, and you'll have enough points to focus on at least all the basics. What do you reckon, Craig?
Yeah, that's it. We just thought we'd talk about the three main types of packs, which is some really, really small packs that you may hit the trail at pace with and just carry the bare minimum stuff. And then you talk about like perhaps a full day pack, which has to get you from the morning back to the car in the evening. And then we might talk about some overnight packs which have to carry a fair bit of stuff, and multi-day packs.
Very good, Craig.
That's what I thought we'd talk about.
No, that's exactly
what you said we
we'll
might talk about.
Yeah, that's what I said we'd talk about. So you've nailed it. Some of the fundamentals that are going to apply to all the packs as we go through is there's always going to be a budget versus quality conversation, and that is not really ours to have. That's kind of yours to decide as you go exploring the internet or the shops or whatever you do, because we're not going to dictate sort of what we consider expensive or what the next person considers expensive. Yeah. Ultimately, through our experience, Craig, would you agree that extra money, unfortunately, brings extra comfort and durability in most purchases?
Yeah, the frog agrees.
100%, mate? Okay, very good. Yeah, good. So he's in?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes for, I'd have to say that goes for 99% of my hiking gear is you pay a bit more, it lasts longer, it works better. So,
yeah.
Again, budget's something that you have to navigate yourself. Definitely the purpose of the pack, Craig's touched on there, but not so much the duration you're going to use it for, but exactly how you intend using it. There's a lot of good packs on the market. For example, this is an example to show you how broad it can be. There's packs specifically designed for the day hiker who is an avid sort of landscape photographer, and all the compartments are built in to hold lenses and all sorts of stuff, and they're waterproof, and which is very, 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 very different to the hiker who's purely going out on the same terrain for completely different reasons.
Oh, for sure. There's some that have got a roll top on them, and you can jump into creeks with them.
Yeah, we own those, and I've used that on a couple of hikes, and again, fit for purpose, absolutely perfect pack for that day and what I was using it for. So, make sure you got an idea of what you want to be doing with it, but also a lot of people are going to have a very broad spectrum, and for that reason you're going to have to choose a pack that ticks a few boxes, and in that way you're going to have to put up with a few things perhaps that don't quite fit right, if you know what I mean. Do you get what I mean, Craig?
Yeah, stretching it across a couple of purposes.
If you're stretching it across a couple of things, you're not going to tick every box. That would be my... from my experience, it would definitely be the case. And as we talk through packs and pack sizes, these conversations are going to come out, and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. The last point on the fundamentals is when I said before that money equals comfort and durability, lightweight gear also equals big dollars, and I put $3 signs on my notes. Big dollars.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it goes with all hiking gear. If I want a stove that's 40 grams, it's going to be twice the price of a stove that's 100 grams.
Yeah,
that's the same.
That's always the way.
Always the way. So, I guess that's why we're not ultralight hikers, because we're pretty tight with our money.
Can't afford it.
Yeah.
That's why we've got to walk around like we carry so much on our back.
We just have Hessian sacks, old potato sacks that we have over our shoulders. If you hear this noise throughout the podcast, we're in the wild. I don't have any electronic devices. I've got pieces of paper with writing on it. I'm just tucking that one away. All right, Craig. As you were saying, mate, we're going to start on the short hike And on the short hike, I'll probably dip slightly into trail running as well, even though I guess that's kind of a subject of its own. I will dip into that just from my own experiences.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the day hike or the short hike pack, in my opinion, it's the one where I guess you could say you could make the most mistakes with choosing it, because you'll get away with more mistakes. And what I mean by that, if it's not the most comfortable pack, you're only going out for 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever you consider to be a short hike, then you're probably going to get away with perhaps buying a cheaper pack and just kind of dealing with it, especially if it's not something you do all the time. It's probably not going to require a waistband unless it's to limit movement, I would say. Like if it's trail running pack, or even I've got quite a small day pack, and it's got a waist strap, and it just stops it flapping on your back. That kind of comes down to personal preference, I think, for a small pack like that. Would you agree, Craig?
Yeah, for sure. It's not necessary.
No, it's not. It's not necessary. And the thing is, with a pack this small, the waistband's not actually taking weight off your shoulders. It's purely there to just stop it
moving around,
slapping against your back every single step.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the bigger packs that we'll get to, the waistband actually takes the weight off your shoulders. So it's a very, very, very different use of a waistband. Obviously, it's going to be physically small. My trail running pack, for example, is so small that it can fit a 2-litre water bladder, and you can just squeeze your keys in and a mobile phone and maybe like a power gel or something, and that's it. But that's a very, very specifically designed pack. Almost to the point that that's not really what we're talking to today, but I just wanted to touch on that. I guess touching on that is important because I don't want someone to walk in to a store to buy a day hike or a half day hike pack and buy the smallest thing thinking that that's the best decision at the time, because inevitably you're always going to find gear to fill the bag. Something like a bladder, even at that small level, I wouldn't say it's important, but it's definitely worth considering. I've got a 8-litre pack, and I carry a 2-litre hydration bladder in that, but I've still got plenty of room to put a little first aid kit, my phone, keys and everything. So it works out pretty well to take the slightly bigger pack and be able to take snacks and all sorts of stuff like that. What sorts of stuff do you shove in for a real short hike?
Yeah, because I don't take a pack for trail running. I've never had that experience, but I do take a little tiny pack on a day trip, on just a little walk with the kids for an hour or two, and it's something where you can think about whether you do want to put a bladder in there or whether you just want to put a litre bottle in there, and that's something that I think defines what sort of bag you buy, is whether it's going to accommodate the bladder or not. But yeah, I just make sure that I've always got a phone or some communication, even especially if you're going somewhere for the first time. So that said, just that and some water, and you don't need much in there if you're just leaving the car for a couple of hours.
Yeah, and maybe just a mini first aid kit, even if it's just band-aids or something. But
yeah,
even on a small pack, it's nice to have a few different pockets so that you can put the keys away and forget about them. We can have another pocket where you've stuffed a bunch of snacks or whatever. I think they can go a bit crazy with pockets, but to be honest, the smallest pack I've got above the trail running pack has got a whole bunch of pockets all through it, and I use all of them when I take it out, because it's just great to move things apart. It doesn't seem like a big deal, But it'd be like saying, well, I'm just going to give you a sack and you just chuck all your stuff in that. And now I want to conveniently pull out the exact thing I wanted, like I want to grab my keys now, but you could be anywhere, right? So pocket's good. A sternum strap is something that's optional. That goes between the kind of left and right shoulder straps. And on a small pack like that, it's optional. But again, if you're going to do any sort of jogging, or even if you're kind of rock scrambling or something, you wouldn't want the pack sliding around. Like if you were climbing some of the local mountains that we live near, I'd definitely say like a sternum strap's a great idea, because it just means it's never going to slip off your shoulder, right? It's just holding those two together. It's keeping it against your chest, and yeah, they're definitely worth considering. I think if you get a pack that's not purpose built for hiking, you're probably not going to see those things, and that should be a bit of a red flag to think about. Well, is that actually a pack fit for hiking, or is it just a kind of a cheap generic brand? You got anything to add to the smallies, Craig?
No, look, I think smallies is hard to talk about because, I really liked how you said it's got more room for making an error, because it doesn't have to have such a strict purpose. You just got to be able to. Whoa, what are they doing?
Oh my gosh!
Oh, they're having a bit of fun over there, those frogs.
Wow, it just landed right on its head. This one's come in now.
I'm shocked with what I just saw.
I don't know if we're going to get murdered. Is this the second time in 2 days things have tried to attack us?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a brutal, dangerous world out here.
Yeah, it is. It's brutal.
It's hard to concentrate.
No, sorry guys, I lost it, but I was saying something about
a big frog deliberately jumped from 1.5 meters and just smacked down on this other one's head. And I don't know if he aimed for him.
Yeah.
But surely they're not fornicating.
Yeah, I think they are.
I don't know, that was quick. Quickest I've ever seen. And right in front of us, under lights.
Yeah, he's gone again.
But it was just a second bang and then off.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, that was odd. Slightly awkward. Okay. Sorry, mate. You were talking about small packs, and that there is more room for error.
Yeah, and you can take a slightly bigger pack and strap it down to become a small pack, and it just depends on what purpose you need it for. So
that is a very, very good point.
Small
it's
packs.
A very, very good point across the board. Everything we're talking about is you can always take a pack that's too big for the occasion, put less things in it, and if it's a half decent pack, it's going to have side straps and things like that, and you'll be able to cinch everything down all the way, suck it all in, and still use it for a 2-hour hike or a half day.
All of my favourite packs, you can just strap them right in tight, and there's hardly any volume inside it, and that works well.
Yep. I guess when you're talking about a small pack like the one I take on shorter hikes, it's the profile on your back is physically smaller, so the width of the pack is not even as wide as my back. So it's just tiny. You forget it's there. You're very agile. Like if I was going to scramble up a mountain, like that'd be the pack I'd take, 100%. Even though my next size up jumps up 12 litres, which is not a big jump. Goes from 18 to so I said that was an 8 litre pack before. I meant 18 litre pack, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. And then the next jump for me is from 18 to 35, I think, is my next pack, which will bring us to our next subject of full day packs.
Full day packs, right.
Which, again, on the same point, you can take a multi-day pack and put less in it and cinch it down.
Yep.
don't get caught in the trap of filling it just because it's
Yeah,
there.
then you'll have too much.
Then you'll have too much. It's almost a nice discipline to take a pack that's fit for purpose so that you have to watch what you pack. Obviously a full day pack's going to be physically larger. It's going to have more pockets like we discussed, but as you move into that full day hike and you're carrying more gear is when you really start to need to take note of things like support and how is that pack going to go over 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours or longer when you're moving through trails, mountains, whatever it might be, and carrying more physical weight, because all of a sudden you've gone from a 2-hour hike to a 6-hour hike, which means that you've got extra water, meals.
Yeah, water and meals.
And that's all of a sudden, and then I think at that point you're going to be throwing in a rain jacket, maybe a more substantial survival kit, depending on the sort of areas you go. You might start throwing in things like personal locator beacons, GPS, like all of a sudden there's weight is coming into it. And as soon as you add weight, and I know this from experience, if you take a pack and overload it, is it not the worst nightmare?
Oh yeah.
It is the absolute most uncomfortable, demoralizing thing you can experience in hiking, I would say.
Yeah, that's it.
Is taking a pack that's too small, overfilling it. What you need to think about is, if you get a pack of a certain size, it has a waistband and shoulder straps and kind of an internal frame or whatever, external frame. Everything fits what the manufacturer considers you're going to carry in that, what the weight that they think you're going to carry in that. If you overpack it, all of a sudden the shoulder straps start digging in because they're too narrow. The waistband doesn't support enough weight because it was never designed to. It's not really the pack's fault. It's overloading was my biggest problem in hiking for a long time, and so then I just bought the biggest pack I could find. Never happened again.
Yep, that's it. But no, I love a good day pack, and you can get some suspension systems which keep the pack off your back, and it's able to do that because you're only putting 8 to 10 kilograms in it, and it works really, really well. But if you overload them, but some of them have really nice padding and straps, and you can happily take big cameras with you and all sorts of stuff. So
yeah, I've overloaded my day pack though, my 35 litre. I think it sits around 35 litres. I've overloaded that before and paid the price. It doesn't have a waistband that's designed to take any weight. It's got good shoulder straps and a sternum strap. It's got a waistband to stop it slapping against your back when you're hiking up and down hills. It's got the kind of system you were talking about, Craig, where you behind the shoulder straps, you crank down on these two, how would you say, straps, and it creates a bow.
Oh yeah,
back.
that's cool.
The X vent. It's cool. It creates a bow.
Do you
shape.
rate that?
I do like it because it puts you could put your whole arm in between the pack
and your back
and my back.
I've seen that. I haven't not actually got a pack that does that, but I've seen it.
Oh right, no,
and I've just gone, wow.
You should chuck mine on one day. It's the real deal because then it's not touching your back.
That'd be nice.
And it's just got a piece of mesh against your back, and the shoulder straps obviously touch your shoulders. Yeah. And the base touches your back, but that's it.
And that's a quality of a good day pack, isn't it?
It is, and it's not a default quality either. You're not going to find that on cheap or even a mid-range pack. You're just not going to find that. They're going to sit against your back, and that's okay. Just be prepared for a bit of sweat. That's all right. It's what when you start getting up in the dollars, you're going to start seeing it. What is that bird on about, mate? I'm trying to talk.
Yeah, tough crowd, right?
It is a tough. Everyone wants to say something around here. So yeah, again, it comes down to that. The more you spend, the more features are going to be included in that pack. But there's a decision: do you need those features? How often are you hiking? How much of an avid hiker are you? Or are you a beginner and you want to test the waters first with an affordable pack and upgrade later? I mean, that's 100% what Craig and I did.
Yeah.
Definitely. The reason I got so many packs is I kind of worked my way up. And every time I buy a new pack of any size, I've got learnings from the bits I didn't like about the old pack, and I'd say I'd never buy another pack unless it has X, Y, Z, and that's kind of the process I use now.
Yeah, once it gets to day pack size, and you're going out for 4 to 6 hours, you really need to consider making sure it's got good water properties, like and I would suggest a bladder system.
Oh, 100%. I think in that full day is where you're going to start to get that.
It has to be able to
pocket inside.
Like I had some for a while. You had to put the tube out through a zip, and
yes,
through a standard zip for the pack, rather than a
dedicated little hole there that you
somewhere to control.
And then the
control the hose down the strap.
A good pack's going to have little bungee cords or clips or something, so that it's always on your shoulder. And you might think, that's not a big deal, who cares? But I can tell you from experience that many times I've used packs that don't have a good hose system. Not so much hose system, how would you explain it, Craig? A system for holding the hose in the right place, so that when you want to drink, it's right there. Well, literally, this happened because I'm using my spare pack. I said to Craig, mate, I need a drink. I can't see I can't see the hose.
Can you get the tube out?
Can you get it? And it had just fallen off my shoulder down behind the side of my pack, and not only could I not see it, but I couldn't reach around and grab it. So
because that spare you've got doesn't even have.
It does not have. The reason it doesn't reach down my shoulder is because it doesn't have a hole coming out the front.
Fluid hole, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, it doesn't have a specific hole. You've got to go up through the bag, which is wasting 20 or 30 centimetres of length of the hose.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so things like that are immediately a pain in the butt. And to be quite honest, if I was hiking alone and didn't have you, Craig, there, I would have probably have to take my pack off for a second to get that hose to have a drink. It's either that or don't have drinks.
Yeah, once you get to that point, and you might be carrying stuff for the kids as well as yourself, and you might have quite a bit of water on board. All of a sudden, you need a solid pack, something that's going to last the whole day without hurting you, and not tear zips and not tear straps. So yeah, I've got a really decent day pack that I can carry a bunch of stuff in, but obviously I don't need to go to the next level that we're about to get to with that pack. I wouldn't, but I know that it won't break when I'm out there if I carry a bunch of stuff.
And I just want to clarify too on the waistband. I know I was saying that my full day pack doesn't have a weight bearing waistband, but that doesn't mean that that's what I'm recommending. It was a pack that popped up at the time. It's a fantastic, reliable brand that I've wanted for a long time. It popped up at a great price. I just couldn't say no, so I grabbed it. I knew it'd come in handy. So yeah, just to be clear on that, if you can get a day pack that has a good weight-bearing waistband system, by all means grab that. You're going to be better every single time. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Every single time. If you can get a waistband that sits low on the hips.
Yeah, and if it is a small volume bag, you can probably remove that waist strap if you look into the details. A lot of them you can actually.
That's a really good point.
Have a day pack that you can just.
Yeah. So if you thought I'm going to go out for a quick couple of hours, I'm hardly taking any gear, then as you say, on some packs you can remove the frog's going crazy.
The waist strap, yeah.
You can remove the waist strap and lighten your load inside the pack, which negates the need for the waistband. So yeah, all those things to kind of consider. Listen to these guys.
Yeah, I think there's some loving going on.
Some kind of a battle of some sorts. The one over on the right is significantly bigger than these two here.
Mate, why do you have to make it look like they're fighting when I think they're in love?
Love is a battle.
Really?
Love is a battlefield, actually, I think, as the song goes.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, you certainly put a dampener on the mood, didn't you?
Come on, let's move on. Let's move on to the big. Let's move on to the big.
Just checking my notes. Yeah, I know we want to get to that. Look, I think that covers it for day packs. Again, back to the point we made earlier. You could use a multi-day pack and just put less in it, cinch it all down, and go out on a day hike. This all comes down to preferences and budget, and I guess how much you're into hiking, how much you want to be into hiking. Sorry guys to drag you out of that beautiful scene that you were in, but I just wanted to give you the second code word for the Caribbean backpack giveaway, and that is wilderness. That's right, simple as that, wilderness. Now go back and enjoy the podcast. Goodbye. Now to our final category, overnight and multi-day. The most exciting, in my opinion, because
the big guns.
The big guns. But why I say it's exciting is there is really something special and exciting about carrying your entire life on your back. What I mean by that is you carrying your food, your cooking, your clothing, all of you kind of
shelter.
Yep, your shelter, all of you kind of just everything else that, your toothbrush.
And to sustain life.
That's right. To keep yourself safe and sustain yourself out here for overnight or days on end if required. And that's probably, if we want to get deep, it's the allure of multi-day hiking, is that attraction of saying, well, as we've done on this trip, I've headed out with everything I need to survive, carried it on my back, and here we are sitting in a stream watching frogs.
Not only is this romantic, but it's a romantic thought to have that sort of that ability to take it all on your back and get out away from the city.
Mate, I'm flattered that you say this is romantic.
It is.
That's very kind.
Well, these frogs. Nah, it's all good.
Okay. Let's start with something I've already said 100 times. You're definitely going to be wanting a heavy-duty, load-bearing waistband. And here's the mistakes I've made. Craig, feel free to jump in with yours. My first pack, it does not cinch in far enough on my hips. I have a small waist, and the thing is, I didn't realize this was happening. I didn't understand, and I went and spent the money on a pack. I didn't know anything about packs for this kind of size. So in the shop, I put the thing on and I tightened it up, and it was tight around my waist, and that was fine, and I bought it. But it took me a couple of years of destroying my shoulders and assuming that, that's just how it is, man, suck it up, that's just how it is, until I got my next pack and realized that my hips were too small for the pack.
Yeah, you told me this, and I never realised. So you were actually pulling those.
I was pulling them in to the absolute maximum,
which has never happened.
And I could still kind of put some, four fingers up there. So that was a huge learning for me, is putting up with it, thinking that I was just a person complaining because hiking hurts your shoulders. Shut up. That's what hiking is. And then later on learning that no, you didn't have the right sized waistband. It was not supporting the weight of the pack. Now what happens as soon as it doesn't support the weight of the pack, everything goes on your shoulders. And what happens with everything on your shoulders is, within a very short amount of time, when I say short amount of time, I'm talking 2 hours, 15, 20, 25 kilos is going to push so hard down on your traps that they're going to feel like they've been hit with a baseball bat and they're bruised. And Craig, would you agree it psychologically just grinds on you when your shoulders are hurting?
Yeah, you get a headache. It's just
that's
not
right.
fun.
You get a headache. It goes up through the back of your neck. So that's a big one, guys. Don't get caught out. Don't let a sales guy, just say that it packs right with you. If you can get into a store and throw some weight into it, and make sure that when you do that waist strap up, don't even do the shoulder straps up, and make sure that the waistband's taking the weight. I don't want to talk to experienced people about basic things, but if you are a beginner and you're listening to this, the shoulder straps aren't to take the weight of the pack. The shoulder straps are there to keep the pack vertical from falling off your back, essentially. Inevitably, they take a small percentage of weight. That's understandable. But when I've gone from one to the other, and the difference is, it's unbelievable. The joy of hiking came back to me in a very real way when I tightened up that waistband on the new pack and head out into the wilderness and had no shoulder pain for days. It was the best thing I ever did. The best learning too.
Oh yeah, I've never had that problem. I've got a little bit of a larger waist.
Have you got the opposite problem?
Yeah, I've got the opposite problem. I can't do them up. I can't do them up half the time. They're all too small. But when we were talking about waist belts and shoulder straps, I actually was so upset when I saw how good your first pack was, even though you just told me how it wasn't, because it had pockets. It had all these little options on the waist belt, which since I've found packs that do have that, and it's so much better. You know what I mean?
Do you mean Do you mean my first pack?
Yeah, didn't it have? Yeah, it did. It had two little pockets.
No, that's my pack that just broke.
No, you had some even on your.
Well, I might have had a small zipper pocket.
You did. I'm sure you did. And I never did, because my first one had just these boring plain straps around the waist and the chest, and now I've got packs which have, so because you can put things close at hand, and you can. There's lots of things I use that for. In fact, I carry a little chest pack now when we're out and about. So having things that you can grab easily while your pack's on means having things located on the hip and on the chest straps has made a difference. Yours has got quite a few options now, hasn't it?
The one that just broke.
Let's not talk about it. No, let's talk about it. What happened to yours again? Oh, well, we said
it's the best features of that pack. Well, no, it was exceptional in every way for 7 years.
Oh yeah.
But except for 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Where do I start? The waistband on that was thick, and I mean physically
wide.
So not just wide from top to bottom, which is obviously going to disperse pressure points around your hips, because waistbands are going to bruise your hips if they're too narrow, and also the thickness. So the thickness of the padding was exceptional. and I just loved it. I just can't say enough good things about it. The other thing is, the first time I looked at the shoulder straps, I thought, wow, that looks like a bit of overkill in the thickness. And when I don't mean the width of the shoulder strap, I'm talking the actual thickness that goes over your shoulder.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's rather thick. I don't know why they've gone to that much trouble, given that my previous pack was half the thickness in the foam. But again, the first hike I did, and I realised that once you're an hour down the trail, everything starts to sink in and all foam starts to compress, and you end up cinching up your waist belt a bit tighter because everything's starting to compress and you're settling in. You pull down on your shoulder straps a bit more. If you've only got thin foam there and it's already depleted, then you really don't have that additional support. So I'd almost say the thicker the better if it's good quality compressed foam and that sort of thing. On the pocket topic, it does come down to what you do, but I think that I don't think I could find a person that wouldn't agree that and let's talk to my old pack. On the waistband, I had a pocket on the left and the right side of the buckle, significant ones, big enough to fit an iPhone in, but deeper, so I could put trail snacks in, which I would. I'd put, like a Ziploc of nuts or something in one side or whatever. Maybe mobile phone in the other, and then I had on the vertical straps, on the shoulder straps, I had 2 lapel pockets that were interchangeable, and you could take them off and on depending on what. In fact, I took them off and put them on this temporary pack just so I could have a pocket knife on my lapel, just so I could have my mobile phone on my lapel. And as Craig said, you can't put a price on access when you're cruising along a trail, you're in the groove, and you think, I don't want to stop. I don't want to have a proper stop. I just want to catch my breath, grab a handful of trail mix, drink, catch my breath, and I just want to keep moving.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I might just grab my phone out and check, check my map app, see where I'm at.
Or you might have a GPS, or you might.
GPS, yeah. So you got a GPS shoved in. Let me just check the GPS.
You might just need to put your sunglasses somewhere.
Yeah, and you don't want to be shoving these things in your pockets because they're a pain in the backside when they're digging in and rubbing in all day long.
Yeah.
So yeah, those things for me were massive, and when I saw the extent of the pockets across the front of the pack, I was very impressed, and also down the sides, all over really.
And so that's where the ultralight team might have a little bit of a kickback about that and say, well, and because most of their packs are very minimal.
Oh, it's 100% just a kind of like a tube with straps, and I've seen them to the extent where they don't have the head section that folds down and you clip that. I've seen them, they don't even have that. They've just got a drawstring at the top.
Yeah,
that's why it's such a different topic. It's so vastly different to what, to the kind of level of comfort that we're trying to get while we're out there.
But every little zip and every extra stitching that they do on some of these bigger packs that we're talking about, adds up in weight.
It does,
but also durability.
You add a pocket, it's weight. So that's a valid point. If none of that's a concern to you, then you're not going to need to look into that. Something to really take into consideration is once you move into the overnight multi-day packs, you're going to start to have the opportunity to choose sizes
I was going to say that.
within the pack range that you're looking at. Sometimes you will have a physically different internal frame. Other times you'll have the ability to adjust. So the last pack that I've been talking about, it had a lot of adjustment points where you could completely remove the shoulder straps and move them significantly closer down towards the waistband. I'm very tall, and between my hips and my shoulders is a long distance in the pack world. So I had it maxed out on the top, but it still sat and took all the weight on my hips. If I haven't made it clear, if your pack is not physically long enough for your body, the waistband is not going to sit on the top of your hips or around the top sort of half of your hips. It's not going to take the load that it needs to take, and again you've got that problem on your shoulders. No matter how expensive the pack is, if it doesn't stretch the length of your body, it's pointless. You're going to have these problems of a cheap pack.
Yeah, make sure it's adjustable at least to some point, so that you can make sure it fits you.
Yeah, either adjustable, or some manufacturers come out and say we've got a small, medium, large, come get measured up, or measure yourself up. How tall are you?
Yeah.
What's the distance between your shoulders and your hips? Okay, you're definitely a large, or you're a medium. Choose that one, no dramas, but be mindful of it, that you think about all the different shapes and sizes of people. There's no such thing as a one size fits all. It's something to consider along the way. Rain cover, something we haven't really touched on in any of the others. It's not as important, but when you're moving into those longer hikes, inevitably you're going to hit bad weather. Also, they're fantastic for just keeping all your straps in and just keeping your bag safe at night from vermin trying to get your food and stuff like that. It's not going to stop a grizzly or anything, just to be clear. It'll stop these frogs. They wouldn't know what was going on. But some packs have, for example, my first pack had it as a side pocket, and if you needed it, you just take it out and put it on, and it had an elastic thing. It's a fairly standard thing across the board. My last pack, what I really liked about it was just the bottom was tethered with a heavy duty strap and sewn into the rain cover. So it was almost like one of those emergency parachutes. You'd undo the Velcro at the bottom and you'd pull out the rain cover. And the bottom was always attached to the pack, and then you just put the top over. Now, why that is so important, I've actually been in a situation where I saw somebody take I'm pretty sure it was in Tasmania, where I saw somebody take their pack cover off. As they were taking it off, it was quite windy and gusty, and it just snatched this rain cover like a parachute out of their hand and just took it like way down the side of this mountain in seconds. And I thought, wow, that really solidifies that little tether on my rain jacket for my back. Like, it's a fantastic idea. I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
The other thing is you can't lose it, you can't misplace it. It's just always there, and it just stuffs back in the bottom. I don't know if that's a common thing. It's certainly not something I've seen on many packs, but it's something to consider. Definitely a rain. When you start to get into those size packs and those dollars, they should be coming free, right? You should be getting. I mean, every pack you've got, does it come with a rain cover?
No, I'm saying no. Unfortunately, my new pack, no, I had to pay extra for the rain.
Okay, so but they're available, but you paid extra for them.
You just have to tick that box.
Okay.
I bought my new one's a fancy hunting pack that on it from a reputable online dealer, and I had to measure my back. So when you run your fingers down your neck, there's this vertebra that sticks out. The first one you come to that actually sticks out if you bend your chin down.
Yep.
From that point to where the actual top of your hips, you run to the centre there. You can feel the top of your hips, and then you have to measure that with a tape.
Yeah, right.
And you go to that extent of picking your frame size, and then then you go in and order the pack, because you can have multiple packs can attach to this frame, and then it's quite modular, and that's been really good because I can swap out packs. You can have a smaller pack or a bigger pack, and you can have different strapping as well, which is called the harness, and so it's quite modular. And then you have to tick the extra box if you want to get a rain thing. But I've been a little bit tight there, and I've used a rain coat or rain cover from an old pack, which could fly away in the breeze, actually.
Man, don't take it out in the wind, dude.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen before. It's brutal. It's brutal. It's it's really interesting, the level of detail that you had to go to get that sized. It's good.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is, you just touched on it then, is saying that you bought a hunting pack.
Yep.
Whilst we're not going to go into brands here, that was what I had as well. And I know that it's going to, a lot of people are going to be thinking, what the hell, why would you be going in that direction when there's such a massive array of hiking packs out there? I don't understand why you moved into that direction. Well, for Craig and I...
Oh, see that?
Yeah, I'm watching it.
He jumped on him. Do you reckon they're fighting? Oh man.
That was deliberate. Like, there's no question.
They jump on top of each other. Oh, God.
This is a great show. Sorry, guys. It's hard to concentrate. This is happening
Right in front of our feet.
When I say right, like, you would have heard that plop.
Yeah.
In front of my foot, that is 2 foot in front of my foot, is a frog making funny noises and getting attacked. Here he comes up. Oh, okay. They're great. Anyway.
They're awesome.
The point I was trying to make there is, I've filmed a documentary before, over a 7-day hike. It was very important for me to carry a lot of camera gear. It was very important for me to have access to spare batteries, lenses, all sorts of things, without having to take my pack off all the time. That's when I started to research a wide variety of packs. That's when I started to realize that predominantly hunters are adding more pockets to their packs, utilizing those things for bits and pieces, from GPS to ammunition to all sorts of things, radios, all sorts of stuff. And the more I looked into it, and they're also designed to take heavier payloads. And the decision-making process for me was, okay, I don't want to always carry heavy gear, but if I have to, I want to know that the pack's designed to take a stupid amount of gear, so that when I carry a normal amount, or slightly over normal, like Craig's audio gear that we've got here and my cameras that we bought with us on this trip, that it's going to sustain that weight. It's not going to break down over time, maybe over 7 years.
Over 7 years it will.
But in the short term, like, there's nothing wrong with the pack itself. And also, my body's not going to deteriorate under that weight over a 7-day period, because the straps aren't good enough, because they're not built for weight, or the waist belt's not good enough, or it's really irritating because it doesn't have any front pockets.
Yeah, and we managed to find some products that are really technical, but also using carbon fibre frames, and you can have some really good materials that are lightweight, and so it's not much more weight than my previous, which was a hiking specific pack, and I'm finding it much more versatile. I don't do hunting, it's not why I bought the pack, but it certainly ticked a lot of boxes in terms of, if you can compartmentalize all your gear. that makes a big difference for me. I can't just stand putting my arm in just hoping to find the thing that you've got.
That's it, man. We spoke about this.
I used to have coloured dry
today.
bags just to try and work it out. So being able to have, they've even got straps inside the bag so you can just keep things into their position, which is fantastic. I don't know. It's overkill for a lot of people, but for us, it's really come in handy.
And just to be clear, not all hunting packs are camo.
That's the point.
They're not. Like we've got, mine was a kind of nice dark green.
I just realised that's probably what they've got in their mind.
Yeah, no, that's what they're thinking 100% is, I don't want to walk around looking like I'm in the military. Yeah. Mine was a dark green and Craig's is kind of an olivey green. Or almost like a grey of sorts. But anyway, the point is they're a highly technical pack, and it's just interesting that's the route I went down for my second pack, and then when Craig, I think, got to his third, he started looking at it and thought, well, you know what, it actually kind of starts to make a lot of sense. So there's a lot of technical hunting packs out there. Even if you're just doing it for the purposes of comparison, maybe just check it out. It's not as crazy as you think. Something that's important, I think, for the main section of the pack is various access points. So on my first pack, you could only get straight down to the top, or you could get in from sort of the bottom at the front. That's where you kind of put.
There's like a little cave down the bottom.
Yeah, you kind of put your sleeping bag or whatever,
or your cooker in there. Or whatever.
Or you could unzip the middle membrane and you just have a full massive tube. Yeah.
Yep, I had one like that.
Yep. It was the most frustrating ordeal. If you wanted something that was down the bottom of your pack, everything comes out of the pack. It was ridiculous. It drove me crazy. Then I think Craig's second pack had a zip across the front, and I thought, well, that's incredible. What a fantastic idea. And was it your third pack that the whole front kind of zipped off, or was that the second one? This one now, you literally zip a kind of a U shape, and it just all folds down, and you can see all your gear laying out there in front of you. It's incredible.
Yeah, and
the value of that
whole front section that folds out, that's just got all of my first aid and navigation and EPIRB and all of that, and a raincoat and all that's just in there, and I know it's there, and it never has to be involved with because I don't touch that stuff.
That's exactly right.
And it's just
I don't know if it's the kind of OCD in you and I think it might be in. I think it might be in quite a few hikers.
No, because I don't think I'm mate. I typically would come at things a little bit less uptight about things, but it's just made life so much better. As I said before, when you're carrying everything you need on your back, you also want it to be accessible. And you know from hiking with me for years that we'll often be hiking along, and I'll say, Craig, my GoPro battery's flat, mate. Can you go to the bottom pocket on the left and just grab another one, or can you go into the top compartment and grab this or something? And you say, oh yeah, here it is. Because when I'm packing, I always put things in the same place. And when I set my pack down and it's time to get dinner, I open the left-hand side of the pack, and all the dinner's in that side. And if I need more batteries, it's the right side. That's just how I've always done it. We sound like we're complaining, or are we getting across the point that convenience really does make hiking more enjoyable? That's what I'm trying to say. I want to sound like a whingy person. Because I know there's people out there way more relaxed than us that would just throw everything in a sack and couldn't care less. They go, well, we'll just get it all out on the ground when you get there, man. What's the big deal? Yeah.
And that's fine. I don't even have anything against that. It's each to their own, and I have a more pleasurable experience when I know where to get my snacks when I'm hangry.
That's it. That's the main thing.
This is the main thing. There they go. Some of the things that are going to start to come into play in these bigger packs are going to be detachable head units. So the top of the pack, well, my last 2 packs, in fact, have been specifically designed to be removed, and another strap joins up with them, and they'll become like a like a fanny pack.
Fanny pack.
For all of you American listeners, it's a bum bag in Australia.
That's right.
And maybe that is. I think I did it once with mine. When I'd stopped at the base of a mountain, converted into that, and just took the bare essentials and hiked up and down the mountain, put it back on the pack, and then continued. Can't say that it's ever come into play any other time. I thought it was a great gimmick at the time on the first pack. Never ever did it, because there was just not a situation where that would come into play. So yeah, it's not a big thing, but the option's there if you're the sort of person that's hiking into a location, and then instead of carrying another day pack with you, you could potentially use this, even if you just slung it over your shoulder, like diagonally, you'd still be fine with that.
Whoa! What was that? A
Microbat.
Yeah, for sure it was.
That flew straight up the canyon and zoomed 1.5 meters over our heads. Well, this place is... you know what's going to happen next is a big carpet python's going to come sliding down the rocks looking for frogs to eat at night. Oh, I can't believe that microbat nearly ran into us. Okay, here's the last point I've got for the multi-day overnight packs, and that is, whilst I would never consider this a deal breaker, like I wouldn't walk out of a store if the pack was absolutely perfect but it didn't have this. It's something that I didn't really have on my first pack, not to this extent, but then my second one does, and I've thought I'd almost never buy a pack that doesn't have this. And what it is quite simply a handle up in between the shoulder straps to carry the thing with.
Of course.
And the amount of times you grab that and throw your pack around,
yeah, it's important.
Is
That's
unbelievable.
really important.
If you're yanking on your shoulder straps all the time, you're gonna end up snapping them or ruining them or something.
Yeah,
plus it's difficult
to lift it up and but test it, because some of them have it, but it's not in the right spot, and it doesn't let you lift it up evenly, and it just tends to tip the bag.
Yeah, it's like swings forward.
The bag.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know exactly.
It's got to be between the shoulder blades, I think. What's that?
That's a toad.
Yeah.
A filthy toad.
That big one.
Yeah, he's just in the leaves.
Okay. So that's the last point?
Yeah, that's something, as I said, my first pack had this little kind of poor man's attempt at a strap, and I thought, oh, that's pretty handy. But then the last pack had a big heavy duty strap well sewn into the pack. There was never any danger of that thing tearing, and to be able to throw that in and out the car, drag it around, pick it up to chuck it on your back and stuff. And because if you think about it, the shoulder straps are designed to take, for argument's sake, 50% of the weight of your pack each, right? They're never designed to pick up every single time by one strap. And I've seen people where their shoulder strap's starting to tear, and I would probably argue that every time they pick it up, put it on their back, they grab it by the same side to throw it up, and it's not good for your pack. It's not good for you at all. So yeah, if it does have a great handle, then yeah, that's something worth considering. I have to say, I think whilst we might not have covered everything, we've probably certainly extinguished our knowledge of packs?
Run out of things. Time for bed. I just want to probably say that, like with all your gear, sometimes this might be a good thing to say. Tom, you have to retire your gear or repair your gear. And I think I've been caught out. When you're going on things like a 4 to 5 day hike or longer, I mean, I don't do much longer than that, but you really want it to make it all the way through. And so I got caught out in Tassie last year with just the whole top head. What do they call that? You called it something before.
Oh, I just called it a header. I don't know what it's called.
You can
that
take
folds
off
over the top. Yeah,
but I could not reattach it on the last day, luckily, and it could have, really just spoiled the trip. And if it was a more important structural problem, you would have had a long trip home.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's no laughing matter if you're on that track that we did, that Craig's talking about. There's no other way in or out. So once you head in, and if you're 3 days in, that means you're 3 days out as well.
Yep.
And what are you going to do? How are you going to carry that amount of weight back out if shoulder strap snaps off?
Yep.
Because you've run your pack into the ground. Yep. Perhaps arguably like I just did 2 days ago.
Yeah, and I think that's why they told us at the very start of all this hiking that we got into, mate, that you need to have a good pack, you need to have good boots, and you need to have good sleep and shelter as well. So if any of that gear looks like it might not make you through the trip, it might be time to retire it and get something new for the trip. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that these things don't last forever. You might want to just say, hey, look, this thing's been through 7 major trips, and let's get a new one.
Yeah, you definitely, as you said, it was the last day, but you got caught out with that, and then is that the only thing that tore? I thought something else.
Oh, my shoes went, remember?
Yeah, no, I thought on the pack there was another kind of seam coming up. But my pack, for example, before this trip, I was thinking about this on the hike and thinking, what if I had packed that and it had stayed together enough to make it to the trail, to get it on my back, to hike for 2 hours, and then the shoulder strap snapped off.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been good.
That is a serious, because we're talking about 20 kilos. How do you carry 20 kilos?
How do you carry that out without the second arm strap?
I don't know. I think it would be a long and slow trip and a horrific one.
Yeah, with that hill.
So anyway, yeah, it's a pretty good point, Greg. I think you can't really have a go at my pack for snapping after 7 years.
Yeah.
I just wish I had seen it coming a bit earlier. It is what it is, guys. Look, thanks for listening. I hope everyone got something out of that. It's a hot topic, and I'm sure people could debate everything we've said all day. But at the end of the day, if you're taking some of these things into consideration when thinking about upgrading or purchasing, I don't think you're going to go too far wrong. Add a bit of actual research into that and talk to people that know what they're talking about, and you'll be just fine. Shall we say good night?
I think so.
Yeah.
Good night from us, and
good night from the frogs.
The frogs and the critters.
All right, take it easy, guys. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Hey guys, it is just us back in the studio. Thanks so much for listening through. I really do hope you got something out of that. I'm just jumping in, obviously, to give you the third code word for the Caribou Backpack giveaway, and that is HODcast. So you've got all 3 words now. Jump on the podcast show notes for episode 41. There'll be information there on how to enter. You'll need those 3 code words, and we'll take it from there. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate your support. See you later. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, we'd really appreciate your ratings and comments if you can spare the time. If you'd like to know more about HikeordieTV and keep track of our adventures around Australia, make sure you drop by HikeordieTV.com. That's where you'll find all the information you'll need to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or Pinterest. As always, we appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.